Hello and welcome to the Saga of the Clone Saga, aka the Clone Zone. We read the 1990s Clone Saga because we hate ourselves. I'm Billy.
I'm Mike,
And I am Vincent.
and for your sponsor this week, it's when you hate yourself, as we do, and if you're loving it, it's McDonald's, baby.
We are supporters of McDonald's, and McDonald's is a supporter of us. But IHOB, if you want to be on a big podcast, let us know.
Also, if you're looking for jobs, please go to 365black.com.
Okay. So today,
look that up later, and you'll know what it means.
Today we're talking about two miniseries: Punisher Family Plot and Venom: Along Came a Spider. So we'll see how Ben Reilly interacts with these two major players with his new status quo. And I'm not sure which one was worse. Actually, I definitely have an opinion, but I'm sure Billy was excited for...
By far the Punisher one.
Yeah. So let's do Punisher first, since it comes first and shorter and it's worse. So this is Punisher Family Plot. It's a 2-issue miniseries. And right off the bat, on the cover of the first issue, Punisher has a ponytail. And it's not looking good.
Is this a Tom Lyle cover?
I'm not even sure. And the reason I'm not sure is that, yes, this is written by Tom Lyle, the dreaded writer of Spider-Man Unlimited for a while. And so the writing shit. And then on art, at least in this first issue, we have 8 pencilers and inkers combined.
Oh my god.
Like, I get it, like Marvel's spinning out of control, but like I just don't understand it. Like, there's
I would have to say
no excuse.
This episode in itself, I think, was the most inconsistent art we've seen in any stretch for any episode. The art was bad across the board here.
Yeah, I don't know. For a while, I thought the Scarlet Spider, the first Scarlet Spider episode or whatever, was really bad.
That was really bad, but I think this was worse. Also, the Tom Lyle's signature is on the bottom right of the cover to the first issue, so at least he drew that. And even his cover's not that good.
Well, it's just even like back to the ridiculous number of artists. This is a miniseries, and the continuity isn't super tight with Punisher or Spider-Man. So it's like you could have taken the extra few days, the extra month, just to have it more consistent. I don't understand how it's such a huge issue. But moving into the plot, there is a Don. Who's the most Italian? How the hell do you pronounce this?
Vince, I thought you were Italian.
No, I'm not Italian at all.
It's like Jirachi.
Yeah, Jirachi, Geraci. There's a mob family. They're Italian. And they're in Manhattan, which 1996, 1990, late 95, are there still huge mob presence in Manhattan? In New York in general? I don't know.
Well, Vince, the mob doesn't exist.
Well, that too. But if they did, I don't think they would.
If they did.
So this mob family, a few of them are in this shootout, and the Don gets hit. Ben comes in to help this situation, and he just fucks up.
No, the Don doesn't get hit. The Don was the target, but his boy Vinny gets hit.
Okay.
Vinny, the most stereotypical Italian right-hand man name.
Yes.
And you know what? Just because this episode's content was so bad, I think we should refer to Vince as Vinny for the rest of the episode.
I'm not a fan.
I know he'll love it.
There was a kind of not trashy. There was a coffee shop next to my house a long time ago, and they had some shady employees. And one of them, he was actually a decent guy, but he was this Italian dude. I don't remember his name.
Why is it important that you say he's Italian?
Well, because when I was really little, he called me Vinny, and I was like, "No, my name's not Vinny," and I would get like really mad at him. But he would just play along with it because I got mad. But they're no longer there. I don't know what happened to him.
It's Vince's third uncle.
Yep. But yeah, Ben comes in to help this situation out, and he misses a spider tracer, and everyone gets away, and both parties are mad at him. And right after that, he arrives late to work and gets
Again.
to a coworker's Oh, also he arrives late, and his actual boss isn't there. And the woman was like, "Yeah, this business is so shitty. Every employee always shows up late, so she doesn't even care.
No,
Everything's
it's not that. It's, some people don't even show up at all.
yeah." And so she's like, "So don't worry about it." And I'm like, if that's the case, you're gonna lose the job because the business is just gonna go out of business.
Also, we've never met this other woman ever.
Her name's Kathy, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And her ex-husband is there.
Her ex-husband is there, and as he states, this is her favorite ex-wife.
And he's packing. Ben, kind of oddly, is like, "Yo, dude, are you carrying a gun?" And that starts a big fight. And whatever. And we know
That's the only appropriate way to handle this.
It is, really.
Ben doesn't entirely know yet, but we know that this guy is one of the men who was shooting at the mob and ran away. And then we get introduced to. Then the Punisher comes in. Apparently, the Punisher is involved with this mob family, and he's either the Don, but he's not the Don. I don't even understand his role.
No, he's trying to be the Don, but I'm like, why the hell is the Punisher working with the Mafia? I mean, the Mafia doesn't exist, but
yeah. So
didn't he just kill all of them?
I don't understand that. At this point, the previous long-running. So we're in. The cover date on this is early '96, but it would have come out in late '95. And so in '95, at some point, the Punisher, all of his titles, and when I say all of them, the Punisher had 3 ongoing series at this point: Punisher, Punisher War Journal, and Punisher War Zone. And then there were a few even miniseries and like quarterly stuff. Every single year there was a Punisher Back to School special, and there was Punisher Armory, which was just like statistics and pictures of his guns. And there were OGNs and stuff.
He had a black and white magazine too, right?
Well, that's been gone at this point. Punisher wasn't even actually in that many of the magazines. It was only like 2 appearances. That's way back in the '70s.
My brother has like ones from the '90s that were like that.
I don't know. I'm not sure what they would have been. So he had those 3 series were all canceled in 1995, allegedly due to low sales. When like 2 years before, they were some of the best-selling books. So the '90s bloat is slightly dying down, but really it's just changing shape for the next year. So now he is only starring in one series called The Punisher, and it's written by John Ostrander. It's part of the Marvel Edge imprint, which we briefly mentioned before, which included Daredevil, Incredible Hulk, Doctor Strange, just weird stuff that like kind of street level, but not really, that didn't fit anywhere else. But apparently that series, it ain't too good, and this is his dumb status quo. Later in the second issue, there's a quick reference to him surviving the electric chair, which is on the cover of the first issue of that series. So I assume it actually happened. I don't intend to ever read that. And then, of course, after that series is when we got Angel Punisher. So the Punisher's he's in a rough few years before Garth Ennis comes around.
I think from what I can gather from these couple issues, this mob family like saved him from being executed, and they like paid off people to like fake his death, and so now he's in their debt or some shit, and now he's like part of their family. But that's just my assumption.
So he would just kill them anyway?
Yeah, but like also it's Ponytail Punisher, so you don't know what kind of brain damage he has.
Or he could be a clone.
Shut up.
So this family orders Spider-Man dead, and Punisher, he doesn't like killing innocents, and usually that includes vigilantes, at least ones that aren't assholes like him.
Or Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then we learn that Marlowe, who's the ex-husband guy, he's working for Tombstone. And at this point,
well, which begs the question to Matt, who's not here today. Matt, where's Tombstone Volume 2?
I would go grab my copy of Volume 1, but it's kind of far away. So be too much dead there. So Spidey is tracking Marlowe, while Frank gets word that the next hit is on the chief of police. And then he shakes off a tracker, which is like a kind of cool scene. That's like the only in-character Punisher thing. And then Punisher and Spidey finally meet face to face.
Punisher, by the way, is drawn so comically huge in this that I cannot take it seriously.
And like Billy said, he was under the assumption that Punisher was dead. And very interestingly, Punisher, like directly, not even sarcastically, says that he likes Ben's new costume. Or Spider-Man's. He doesn't know the specifics, obviously. But then Ben just immediately tranquilizes Punisher. But it doesn't last too long. Ben grabs Marlowe, but Marlowe totally pulled it off, and I guess he killed the chief of police.
Yeah, it really gets glossed over that this dude murdered the chief of police and then walked out of there.
It's totally glossed over and is even more comical because the Venom arc heavily involves the police, and they don't address that at all. And allegedly, it's after, according to Marvel. And I thought it was hilarious. Ben, obviously, he doesn't refer to his clone status specifically, but he's grabbing this guy, and he's like, I'm wearing a different costume. You don't know for sure whether or not I'm going to kill you. And the guy's like, oh, shit, you got me there.
I actually thought that was really funny.
Yeah, that was like a very cool moment. And then Punisher comes in and fucks up. Everyone gets away. But then they both go after him. And this time, Spidey did accomplish the Spider Tracer. And so they're going to go after Tombstone. Or no, yeah. Tombstone discovers a Spider Tracer on Marlowe. So he's about to kill Marlowe. Then Spidey busts in. Then Punisher. There's a fight, whatever. Some dumb goon that we don't care about gets killed. And then Marlowe redeems himself to Tombstone with an escape plan, while Spidey and Punisher have to get the hell out of there before they.
He throws a bomb, and then it blows up, and it's implied that, oh no, they're dead.
Yeah,
but they're totally not, because there's 30 more episodes of this show to go.
Moving into part 2, I think this covers slightly better. It's at least a little more stylized.
Which Tombstone in the bottom right, looking like the most Image Comics monster creation possible.
Yeah. If he wasn't on this cover, I think I would enjoy it. But
so the creative team here is a little cleaner. There's only one penciler and 2 inkers, and that one penciler is Joe Bennett, who just put out Immortal Hulk #1 like 2 weeks ago. And I've also dug his Hawkman work in the mid-2000s.
How is this the same artist?
Yeah, exactly. He's not too great here. In fact, I don't know if this was intentional, but like I picked up in this issue, it's almost reminiscent of like a McFarlane Light, especially Tombstone, like the way the way that he feels and everything. It looks like a really shitty Tom McFarlane ripoff.
Oh yeah.
And just in general, like this style is not at all what I'm wanting on these books at this point. I'm so desperately waiting for Michael Rango to show up.
Yep.
And
how many episodes until that happens?
I'm not sure. That's when Jurgens leaves. Okay. But then again, I mean, next episode we'll be back to Jurgens for at least one issue.
I can't wait until we get back to Jurgens, because I at least enjoyed the first part of that.
And so Spidey and Punisher, they argue, and then they agree that they're going to work together and not going to kill, at least for now. You know, that's how it always works. And speaking of how Punisher is fucking jacked, in this issue, because they have to go through the rooftops and everything, he's constantly literally piggybacking on Spider-Man as Spidey swings, and that will never look cool. I don't care how hard you try. This giant man with a gun and a skull on his chest, piggybacking on this skinny 20-year-old. It's not going to look cool.
Especially because the proportions are all terrible, and his arms are as long as his legs.
Yeah, and then this one panel, he's kind of just like ripping Spider-Man's shoulders and off to the side.
Yeah, like Spider-Man's rotator cuffs are fucked, basically.
Okay, listen. Punisher's wearing like very tight clothing. If his dick touches Spider-Man's back, you know, he might take it the wrong way. You gotta be sure.
So
Punisher War Journal, 1995. My dick touched Spider-Man.
Back in Nam. Marlowe's stupid ass kid gets wrapped up in Tombstone schemes and gets kidnapped.
Hold up, but this kid's hat though.
Oh yeah. What pins does he have?
He has an X-Men pin, a Spider-Man pin, a Punisher pin, and on one of the panels he has a pin that kind of looks like the Watchmen pin, even though that's not Marvel.
Yeah, it's definitely that.
There's also one where he has like a red D, and I'm wondering if it's Daredevil, but there's not double Ds.
Yeah, it's definitely Watchmen. There's like a mark on the smiley face. It's not red.
Yeah,
but that's definitely what it is. Then right after the dumb kid gets kidnapped, his mother wakes up in her expensive lingerie.
Yeah, I was gonna say this scene is made me laugh out loud because Joe Bennett literally just wanted to draw a girl in lingerie.
And then as she gets up in bed, she literally breaks her spine. It's not even calling her an expensive lingerie. This is top tier, just cheesecake, terrible anatomy, 90s
It's
crap.
so bad.
I think the last time
is as long as her arm.
The last time we had anything like this was a few of those like backups where Liam Sharp was drawing Gwen or something. That was the last time we had super, super terrible 90s female anatomy.
But I want to go back a couple pages where Tombstone throws his henchman into a wall and he splatters and just dies.
Yeah.
And then the kid walks in too.
It's not even clear either, because for a half second, I'm like, did he just do that to Marlowe? And then Marlowe just shakes it off.
Yeah, I thought. Yeah, I saw that too. I was like, no, because Marlowe's standing next to Tombstone.
So then Spidey and Punisher, there are two missions they have to split up for. Someone has to save the kid, and someone has to stop a hit on the mayor. So Spidey takes the kid, and Punisher goes to the city hall. Was that the right option?
No.
No.
I would kind of agree. I don't know, because I mean, Punisher is honestly pretty perfect when it comes to avoiding shooting innocents. I mean, granted, if Tombstone grabs the child, he's going to be in a bind, but
except for that movie Punisher Warzone, where the whole movie is about him shooting an innocent.
And then this is a good point to mention with the weird Malibu coloring, or I don't know precisely who's to blame.
It's Malibu.
There's this scene of Ben in shadow, and to show that his suit is green and purple.
Yeah.
And just looks disgusting.
I like glanced over it at first and I thought it was a Green Goblin showing up for some reason, and I got really confused.
Yeah, it looks terrible. And even just in this miniseries, and especially this issue in general, it seems like there are other coloring issues. There are a lot of moments where it looks like Ben's mask is ripped, but then the very next panel it's not, and it never actually looks like a rip. And so I honestly feel like they forgot to color in certain sections of his face.
Listen, there's parts of this book where, number one, there's a whole lot of issues here. But there's like a splash page where Tombstone looks like Pitt. So
yeah. And Punisher, then he lets Marlowe live for now, and then Tombstone kills Marlowe. And then Punisher pulls out a fucking missile launcher.
Out of nowhere.
Fires it at close range, but Ben reflects it with a web shield, and nothing gets accomplished. Tombstone gets away, so does Punisher, and then it's just over. And
but Steve redeems himself.
by dying.
And then back at the coffee shop, Ben gives a speech to the dumb little kid and about redemption, and then like the whole apple doesn't have to fall far from the tree or whatever. He's like, or no, the sins of the father don't pass on or whatever.
Yeah, it was stupid and goes on for 3 pages.
And also, I'm like, why is Ben telling this kid? Like, Ben shouldn't really know any of this.
He's trying to be his new dad.
Like, exactly. I was really waiting for. He's like, oh yeah, Kathy, can I have your number? I mean, he was your ex. Not a big deal.
All right, let's talk about she-venom.
Well, wait.
Rather not.
We need to finish up the Punisher epilogue.
The Punisher epilogue, which is it is hilarious.
He explains himself to the family, and he's given a pass. And he worries about whether he's or whatever. It turns out the mole that he got, or the tracker that he got off his tail earlier, was still following him, even though like they should have totally shown him in the corner panels like twice. But whatever. But Punisher knew, and he decided not to kill him anyways. Whatever. And then there's clearly a mole in the family on Tombstone's behalf, and that doesn't get solved here. And the Punisher seems to clearly know, and so I'm assuming that's in his ongoing series. Who knows. And then there's this hilarious page where Punisher worries whether getting close to this mob family is betraying his real dead family. And
okay, how fucking long is he gonna be afraid to like meet new people? Like this dude's family has been dead for years upon years.
Are you familiar with the Punisher?
No, like I get it, but at some point you gotta like get over it.
Well, the funnier part is that the Punisher is a character that ages in real time. So the longer it doesn't happen, the older he gets, which makes it funnier.
I mean, he ages in real time only because they're very hesitant to move his origin from Vietnam, even though they technically have now.
Well, I should reframe that. At least in the Max universe, he still ages in real time. Yeah. And in 616, have they said it's the War on Terror yet?
Yeah, I think it was hinted to kind of be like the Gulf War,
or like Desert Storm, maybe.
It was hinted as that a while ago, and then I think the Marvel Now run written by Nathan Edmondson like officially made it like Iraq, Afghanistan, like post 9/11, which is very recent. But whatever. So that's these 2 issues. They were pretty bad. Not much to write home about. And now we move into what Billy was here for. Venom, Along Came a Spider.
Mm-hmm.
And while we're at it, Billy, what did you just buy?
The Venomnibus. The best omnibus ever made. Because it's Venom.
Thankfully, or whatever, the Venomnibus does not include this miniseries. But what that really just means is that there will be a Venomnibus Volume 2. And
since Billy bought it, he's ensuring that Venomnibus Volume 2 does get made.
it was probably going to get made. And I hope Billy buys it to complete the set.
All right, here's the thing. Billy, now that you bought it, you have to do a review on it. And you have to go see Venom and do a review on that.
I'll just do a 2-for-1. I'll just read it and then go watch the movie and then do a review.
Go bring it to you in the movie theater and read it in the movie theater.
I mean, the timing might line up because I feel like it's going to take you a while to get through that trash. So let's
the trash, the movie or the book.
You better be talking about the movie.
most of the book. So let's talk about the trash that is in that book. There were 17 continuous Venom miniseries from 1993 to 1998.
Jesus.
Bring them all back. Bring them all back.
You're reading the 10th one. And you could have a solid argument whether even the first one was good, which was Lethal Protector, the only one like people actually remember. And
you don't remember Separation Anxiety?
No. And
we don't talk about that.
There are also some one-shots and then Planet of the Symbiotes is kind of loosely part of it. And they're all loosely connected to each other, but half of them just had random guest stars, whoever else was popular in the 90s or needed a push. Like there's one with Ghost Rider. There's all kinds of weird stuff. And about half of them were written by Larry Hama, who writes this one. And I think Hama may have been slipping by this point, whereas not even that long ago, a few years before, he was pretty reliable. He's known maybe most famously for G.I. Joe, which he wrote for 155 fucking issues in a row.
He's still writing it.
Well, yeah, I mean, they resurrect, IDW, right? IDW.
Yeah, IDW. They did when they had their G.I. Joe line. There was G.I. Joe, and then when they got the rights to the original series back, they did a G.I. Joe: A Real American Hero, and they brought Hama back, and it's like written as if the book never ended.
Yeah, they just picked right up with the numbering, and I think so the original run was like 155 issues, and I think he's tacked on at least 100 more.
But to my understanding, that book has completely gone to shit.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Well, the G.I. Joe comics very recently have been all kinds of divisive and been very controversial.
Though Larry Hama, he is the grandfather of G.I. Joe, as like he's given every single personality to the characters. And and just a little tack on fact, the G.I. Joe Tunnel Rat is made to look and resemble Larry Hama.
Yeah,
so he's made his likeness,
and that's loosely based on his. And what made him such a great writer for the series is that he did serve time in Vietnam. But G.I. Joe, the original Marvel run, that was canceled in 1994. This book is coming out late 95, so that's over. He also did a Johnny Blaze spinoff of the whole Ghost Rider franchise. That ended earlier in the year because just like Punisher, the whole Ghost Rider franchise is kind of collapsing on itself. And Wolverine 100 overlaps with one of the issues of this miniseries. And in Wolverine 100, that's where an attempt at restoring the adamantium in Logan's body fails, and that's when he goes feral with the stupid nose.
And he loses his nose?
Yep. So, I don't know. I mean, this is not a great showing for Larry Hama. The cover on this first issue, though, may be one of the better parts of this episode. It's kind of cool. It's really over the top, and it is also the cover of the trade of Ben Reilly Epic Volume 2.
We're going to talk about Venom here. Billy, you sent it to me in a Snapchat message. You absolutely hate the green drool, and I'm with you.
Okay, listen.
It's so excessive.
A little bit of saliva like at his mouth is perfect, but they make it look like he's fucking spewing high-C ecto-cooler out of his mouth at all times, and it's disgusting. Like the first page of this issue is just him with a bunch of fucking green cum shooting out from his mouth, like on the sides, not even the front, just on the sides. It's disgusting to look at, and it makes no sense.
Yeah, so over on art, we have Joe St. Pierre, who I think we've
seen. That's a segue.
Twice. And his art here is cartoony, and it's like almost decent. I don't know how I fully feel about it.
It's not almost decent. It's terrible.
It's passable.
I don't know. I like the idea of like
look at the characters in the background. There's no effort. They look like Pop Funkos.
Okay, his Venom is passable.
Well, his Venom is passable. Also, in addition to the saliva, which is green, I've never been a fan of the very extended jaw.
Oh yeah, me neither.
Which he does here, and even just the tongue gets pretty long sometimes here.
Okay, speaking of the tongue, the second page, there's just a disconnected tongue, just randomly. Like, I feel like they meant to connect it. Like, he's walking past spider webs, and like it kind of segments his body.
Yeah.
And there's just a big ass tongue, like going past his shoulder. But when you see his head, his tongue is very small and like just curved right at his mouth. So
And then to make things even more confusing and more frustrating, we get a reference to Planet of the Symbiotes, and somehow this takes place relatively after it, which I guess might make sense, but we read that a long time ago.
Go watch the episode if you get caught back up.
But it does kind of help with, we were saying during that episode, like, how is this event not mentioned, where Venom, like, symbiosis invade the fucking all of New York. But like, even in this, it's like, it's glossed over as much as the police chief's death. Like,
there's a very quick mention where at the coffee shop someone's reading the Bugle, and they're like, God damn it, the Bugle's still talking about this, like it wasn't a big deal. And so the actual plot, Venom is calling his ex-wife Anne Wayne, but she's at the police headquarters and they're tapping the phone. Also, the guy who monitors the phones has this really weird circular head, which is way more cartoony than everyone else.
Yeah, because he's a Pop Funko figure.
Yeah. And then the fucking symbiote reduces itself to, quote, a molecular monofilament and travels through the phone wires to bond to Anne, and then connects their minds while still attached to Eddie, and then she has an orgasm. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
All right, I'm happy you said it because someone had to.
No, they like literally say, like, one of the other police officers, like,
oh no, I know,
is like, it looks like she's in ecstasy. And then later on, even when it happens again, she's like, oh my god, I feel so great. And
is this your fetish?
And then we
get answer that question.
No, it's not.
They kind of like the what are they called? The yellow text boxes that like explain what's going on, like the narration, but in text form. Is it still narration? I don't know.
I thought you were about to say that you get off to the yellow narration.
No, well, I mean, of course I do, but no, they describe it as like, they say a communion far beyond the tawdry physical. So it's like sex, but like on a spiritual level.
Through a telephone wire, which has to be miles away.
It makes you wonder, is that how, can Ray Palmer do that?
No, yeah, he's done that before. He's traveled through telephone wires.
Yeah, but can he get people off through the telephone wires?
Can he get people off at all?
I think Ray's
he apparently not, because his ex-wife is the reason why identity crisis happens.
But I would say the main character to ask about getting people off and shrinking would be
Hank Pym.
No, what's his name?
Ultimate Hank Pym.
Eric O'Grady.
Eric O'Grady.
The irredeemable Ant-Man, who watches.
Yeah, well, he just spies on people taking showers.
Yeah, he watched Carol Danvers take a shower.
Irredeemable Ant-Man is like the best title for that story.
And then I guess they communicated, so they're gonna meet up or something. I don't know. And so then we get Venom, a nice scene of him killing baby alligators for some reason.
Yeah, because the alligators live in the sewers.
They're so cute there. They're just cute little tiny sewer gators, and he's just ripping them apart.
He's doing New York a public service.
Yeah, they should pay him for that.
You never know. Those alligators could have been raised by a rat to do kung fu.
It would have been great. It would have been great if like the lizard came out. He's like, dude, what the fuck? Those are my kids.
No, you know what the lizard does with his kids, so he really just saved them.
If only Matt was there for that joke.
This is what Matt would have done. No.
So then some people, another funny scene. Like there are at least some diamonds in the rough unintentionally. At the coffee shop, some people are arguing about how many spiders there are, and they're like the original one, the Scarlet Spider, now this new one, and this guy keeps saying, he's like, "What about the black suit? What about the black suit? Was that a different one?"
Yeah, technically.
But then the joke now in 2018 is that we have Peter, Miles, Ben, Kane, Miguel, Cindy, Gwen. Gwen, it's technically in a different universe, but it's the exact same thing and in constant publication. So, not an improvement, if you ask me. And then Ben hears about Venom, promises to take him down like Peter never could, which is the exact same motivation from when Ben last ran into Venom in the Exile Returns arc way back. That was like our
and like
third episode.
that was the thing. Like Ben easily beat Venom back then.
Yeah. Well,
I wouldn't say he beat Venom. He like drove him off for a second.
He separated. He got him separated from the symbiote. That's what set up separation anxiety.
Yeah, but then there's been probably like 6 Venom miniseries between this. So who knows? And then the best part, a pizza guy shows up to the police station. It's pizza time! And someone blows a bullhorn in his face to check if he's Venom. And that's kind of genius. Mm-hmm. But the pizza guy isn't Venom, but the guy who blew the blowhorn is. So how exactly does this sound?
No, that's not Venom yet. That's still the police guy. But you see him on the next page walk into an alleyway, and then Venom swaps places with him.
I must have completely missed him, the scene of him walking, because I was like, all right, that all happened behind the scenes. And then Venom grabs Anne and he gets out. And there's this awkward moment of Spidey saying that Anne doesn't have to go with Venom. And they're trying to be like funny and make it like a sexual harassment joke. And it doesn't work at all.
Is that what they were trying to do?
That's how I like.
Is Venom going to get times up?
Oh, wait. Oh, you completely glossed over the fact that Venom straight up decapitates this cop.
Yeah.
And they don't really comment on later that a bunch of cops died.
Yeah, he like decapitates someone and like rips someone in half, and it's like in shadow and stylized, but then you see their bodies totally fine on the ground without even a pool of blood. But they're definitely dead at the very least. But moving on, the second issue, I don't even remember seeing specific credits anywhere in the first issue. So I don't even know who drew that. Well, I know it was Joe St. Pierre, just based on like the wiki and stuff, but I'm not sure if there were 10 inkers. But in this one, now we've got 2 pencilers and 4 inkers. And in the second issue, it's noticeably different and it's way rougher. So not on a good start. Again, a miniseries, like schedule it better. Not that hard.
And Venom's bottom jaw is even more elongated in this one than in the last one.
If Jim Shooter was there, he would have been like screaming.
For sure. I don't even. He's probably. This is 1990, late 95. I think he's long gone from Valiant. Marvel probably sunk Defiant out of business, and so he's probably onto Broadway. Broadway Comics, which published maybe like 20 issues total before they went on there. And so Ben has only tangled with Venom twice, and the second time was Planet of Symbiotes, where they teamed up for almost all of it. But I guess in all those miniseries, Venom has developed more resistance to Sonics. And
makes sense.
So Ben gets the shit beaten out of him for like several pages. And then a cop blasts the sirens on the roof, and Venom runs away. And Ben makes a dumb Megadeth joke.
Yeah, I'm guessing Larry Hama doesn't like Megadeth.
Or just metal in general. I don't know. I mean, he's an older dude even at this point. Then Spidey gets into an argument with the cops, and they're calling in Ravencroft with special gear and equipment, and Ravencroft never shows up. That gets totally dropped.
But the ATF does.
Yeah. And then the dumbass clerk at the police station lets Anne back on the phone. And she doesn't even like want this to happen. but she calls Eddie, and her idea is like telling him, please don't come rescue me, but this is where I am. And it's like, no shit, the symbiote bonds to her again.
She-venom.
And right then, the media sneaks in and freaks out. First, because they're like, get that woman away from the phone. And the media's like, no, you have to have a phone call. That's prisoner's rights. And then she turns into she-venom, which I think has already been a thing in a previous Venom miniseries.
I think so at this point. Because, like, these people were really quick to call her she-venom.
Yeah.
But also, why did that dude let her on the phone? Like, one, because they already saw Venom go through the phone lines, but also, two, because she wasn't really under arrest. They were just using that as a ploy to get Eddie to come there. Like, there was no reason for her to be on the phone.
The way I read it was that she, like, snuck away and dialed the phone. I don't think the guy let her.
No, the Roundhead guy let her. Like,
does
he
he?
asked
Okay.
him.
And then we learn that Ben sucks at sewing, even though he should have lots of experience, even without counting those 5 years.
Yep.
And he likes to sew with the TV on, so he sees the commotion on the news and he heads out.
He also suffers from the Spider-Man syndrome of not knowing how the fuck to sit down. So he just squats and just squats there awkwardly sewing.
No wonder why you suck at it. You're off balance.
Someone should make Slav squat memes with Spider-Man. So this third issue, the art is back to at least somewhat consistent. It's still not good, but it's not all over the place. She-Venom
has
gets
this
away.
really weird jaw.
Yeah, She-Venom gets away from the cops, and she's meeting with Eddie somewhere. And then a big mess-up moment. What were we discussing earlier? She sets off Ben's Spidey sense.
Yep.
Which doesn't make sense at all.
Doesn't make sense because Venom can't trigger Spider-Man's spider sense.
Yeah, and that's due to...
Okay, no. I guess the symbiote could if it wanted to, but it knows how to actively avoid the spider sense.
Because it spent time with Peter. And that shouldn't change because Ben is an exact clone. And it doesn't matter anyways because Ben has come across Venom before. It didn't go off in this arc. It didn't go off the other 2 times he met him. So that's all stupid.
Oh, also before that, there is a text box that is totally not supposed to be attached to she-venom, but for some reason is. Like, it's definitely the police guy talking on the phone, but for some reason they attach it to she-venom jumping from building to building. So I guess they just are bad at their job.
Yeah. Well, it is Marvel in 1995, so.
Oh, and then on the next page, this isn't like they didn't mess anything up. It's more just Eddie Brock just being a fucking idiot because he's complaining about drudging through the sewage, but there's 2 very visible walkways on either side of him that he could be walking on.
I don't know. I don't think Eddie Brock is too bright. And then Anne and Ben, they both end up on a subway train, and some kid named Kadim, his mom tells him that comics will rot his brain when he tries to tell her that he sees Spider-Man.
I mean, I think she has a point. After doing this podcast, I'm starting to feel it.
And their meetup spot is an abandoned amusement park, which is apparently where Spidey's fake parents were held hostage in Amazing Spider-Man 375, which that issue was when they had their last major battle and when they made that pact where Venom went to San Francisco. But, like, why are they meeting up here? Was Venom holding his parents hostage? I guess probably. Like, I don't know, whatever. And now we get Mike's favorite character of this arc. Who do we meet?
LD50!
Yeah. And he's some crime lord or some shit. And
take a shot. Just take a drink every time the name LD50 is said. I think it is said an average of twice per page.
And the DEA and ATF kind of in competition with each other are tracking him.
Well, they're on a joint op.
Yeah. Well, but they're not being very cooperative.
No.
And they kind of do nothing this entire arc. They're just comedy, but they're not funny.
No. So why they're there, I have no idea.
Also,
And
hold on, before we get further into that, there's like references saying that he was like LD50 was in another like other stories.
yeah,
I have no idea who the fuck this character is, but I kind of like him because he likes to use big words for no reason.
Yeah,
and it's kind of entertaining.
So let's talk about LD50. He uses big words. He's like very eloquent, but they don't always entirely actually make sense.
I don't know why he's called LD50.
I don't. It's totally. This is such a weird character. And apparently LD50, and he directly references. He's like, "Oh, Spider-Man Venom. That's not a big deal. I've dealt with Rage." And it's like, first of all, Spider-Man and Venom are way bigger tier than Rage. But that was back in Larry Hama's brief run on the Avengers in 1990. And that is actually where Rage first appeared. And when Rage, Sandman, and Spider-Man all became reserve Avengers. And so I guess Ben is definitely not a Avengers reservist. I think Spidey got his revoked at some point. But like, why did you bring back that character? Whatever. I think Larry Hama was just like bored or something. Maybe he just wants to flex his vocabulary. But the agencies have a mole in LD50's organization, which doesn't help them at all. And then she-venom tries to pull off the anti-hero gig as they just accidentally stumble on LD50's whole deal. And Ben tries to save her from bullets. And I was like, he knows how the symbiote works, at least on Venom. Why is he even bothering to save her from bullets? Especially when then he freaks out and he's like, oh, I got to save her and defeat these guys and also save them from getting killed by her. And I'm like, one of those things you don't have to worry about as much. And then Eddie gets fucking torched by a goon who pops out of a manhole cover. Like fucking whack-a-mole. He just gets literally straight to the face a flamethrower. And then the art is not very good, showing what should be a completely crisp body. But Anne runs to save him, and the fire starts freaking out the symbiote. And that's how that issue ends. So then we move into the final part. And this cover, it's not good, but it's kind of interesting idea. It's Ben and Venom bursting through the wedding photo of Eddie and Anne. You know, it's classic cover trope of busting through a newspaper or a photo or something like that. And so Anne transfers the symbiote over to Eddie, which heals his wounds. And as he gets the symbiote back, Anne just like strikes a pose. She just like vogues the shit out of it in her tight ass dress. It's just
Which, by the way, was she wearing that when she was at the station?
I think it may have changed colors.
She was wearing like a completely different dress. Like it was not that tight, and I'm pretty sure it was green, and now it's white.
Yeah.
So Ben jumps back into the fray, and the goons are like, "Well, we don't like Spider-Man either, so we might as well just shoot everyone." I thought that was funny. And suddenly, then LD50 calls up his psychiatrist and starts talking about his Prozac prescription. And I'm like, now are they trying to like do commentary on grubby psychiatrists and mental illness?
Don't know what the fuck that was.
It's really weird and
so weird.
And then the interesting part, like the only actual character thing besides the Venom stuff, which I don't care about, is Venom definitely knows that Ben is not the Spider-Man he's been fighting for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense because I guess the Venom symbiote, I believe we saw it very briefly at least try and bond with Ben. And also just, I don't know. I mean, at least Venom, he's fought Spider-Man so many times, he knows all of his moves. So that's cool at least. And then Ben's like, yeah, he's right, but I can't explain all that clone stuff to him. But then I was like, really, why not? Like, would Eddie Brock care that Ben is a clone? Like, does he really have any reason to tell anyone? Would he tell anyone? And it's not like Ben really has any loved ones right now that Venom could go creep out like he did with Mary Jane. And honestly, Ben would sort of be off the hook with Venom because it was Peter who destroyed Eddie's career. So it's like,
well, no, it would be Ben, because he was Peter at that point.
no, he wasn't. His career gets
point of destroying Eddie's career? Pretty sure he was.
When was that? Because Ben it's Ben before Amazing Spider-Man 150. I think the Eddie stuff is like his journalist career is slightly retconned, but it's connected to the Sin Eater storyline, which is the death of Jean DeWolf, which it's very briefly referenced here, but I'm pretty sure that's definitely after the original Clone Saga.
But I'm pretty sure Ben says, he references somewhere here that he did fight him as Spider-Man before, like before the clone stuff happened.
No, that definitely doesn't match up at all.
I don't know.
But I don't know. Like, I mean, it's not like I expected him to say, "Oh yeah, I'm a clone," but I think it kind of would have helped his case.
It definitely would have, but I mean, like, who cares?
And then for like a page, Eddie is somehow eloquent for a bit.
Oh yeah, I noticed that too.
I think Larry Hama again was just like bored, or I don't know what was going on. And then Anne gets saved from execution, and then it kind of just ends. She says maybe she'll reconcile with Eddie if he gets rid of Venom and makes peace with Spider-Man, which is like, why do you care about that second part? And the dumb so she's just away now. Then the dumb flamethrower guy, he's running around leaking oil. And of course, their cache of weapons and drugs includes flammables and explosives. And so Venom turns off the lights because they're going to go ambush all these goons. And I was like, oh, cool. A big fight scene in the dark is going to happen. Maybe they'll do some interesting artistic stuff. And then that just doesn't happen. This idiot lights a match, and then everything blows up. And Venom gets away despite everything being on fire. And LD50 gets away too.
Wait, what? Oh, no, the fuck he didn't.
Well, doesn't he?
No, he explodes and dies.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He's literally right next to...
Venom shuts off the lights, so they purposely light the match, so they all blow up.
Okay. I mean, I guess you definitely have to assume it, even if they didn't show it, but I didn't notice it. But regardless, I mean, the fact that he's dead, obviously, but he never appears again. But, you know, it's comic books. You can always bring him back to life. And so that was that. Billy, are you still a fan of Venom?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel bad for you.
Yeah, I mean...
This was a pretty terrible episode.
Mm-hmm.
The Punisher stuff especially, but Venom wasn't much better. But thankfully, next episode is the arc Media Blizzard. We're back to the actual main books, so we'll see Jurgen, maybe whoever else is still on the books at this point. And this arc will involve Mysterio, who we saw a bit ago.
Yeah, I forgot. Yeah, he's having his whole planning in the background thing. Yep. It's been 2 episodes since that, though.
So thanks for watching. Tune in next time, and peace.
Bye.